So Cyberpunk has problems on old consoles, on old hardware, etc. On PC, if you have the might, it can look really fantastic. Night City looks beautiful. Some of the models are absolutely fantastic, but on mortal hardware, as it's described in the doc, and I like that, more common
Yeah.
hardware, it can chug pretty hard. For instance, GTX 1080, that's the same thing I ran it on. It's the same thing as the person who wrote this ran it on. It can chug pretty hard if you try to put it at a very nice setting. It sounds like the person in the doc ran with mostly medium settings. That's the same thing I did. And they noticed it regularly dipping below 60. So did I. Sounds like we had a very similar experience. They say they haven't had very many bad bugs yet, but they're only about 4 hours in. I'm in less time than that and have experienced some bugs, but
Right.
I was also kind of poking for them. So I don't know how fair that is.
Nerd. Nerd.
A little bit. On the PS4, however, it runs between 720p and 900p with a frame rate of around 15 to 20 FPS in the city, getting closer to 30 FPS inside or indoors.
Yeah, that's pretty rough. 15 is like it's not a good experience.
No, not even freaking remotely. There's also lots of examples you guys have probably seen around the internet of things that, like, if you've seen Cyberpunk on a good setup, just don't even actually look. I'll read that later. Don't even actually look like Cyberpunk. There's also some really, really bad interactions. Like I saw one clip where someone walked up to a person in the game and the detail level of their clothing just rapidly changed in front of them without ever actually sticking on one thing.
Right.
Probably due to performance issues of other models in the scene and trying to decide what render distance it wanted to do and stuff.
And if it's a busy street, there could be models popping in and out constantly and they just wouldn't know what to do.
Yeah. So like graphically, there's lots of issues. Digital Foundry has done fantastic analysis on the game, as they generally do with these types of things. There's a quote from them that says, for a particular car chase in the game on PS4, it just cannot run. It's not that it's running under 20 FPS, but it stutters as well as streams in the world. There's slowdown, there's stuttering, and the visual quality is seriously compromised. I mean, the whole thing is just kind of a mess. That's not what you want Digital Foundry to be saying about your game. So yeah, it has major performance issues, which I think on PC is a little bit more excusable.
We're just used to that.
Yeah, and like sometimes the argument of like, oh, you have to go get new hardware to play new fancy game is kind of embraced by the PC community.
But there's a bigger problem for console players, because this is a really good argument for why licenses for games should be platform agnostic. Because if I'm someone who bought this game for PS4 and I don't manage to get it refunded within my refund window, whatever that is in Sony's shop, and I want to play it like properly at some point, I now have to buy another copy of the game. Like, what? And whereas on PC, we actually do buy games that we know are pushing the limits of our hardware, knowing that we're going to play it through once for the story, we're going to save our pennies, we're going to upgrade our graphics card 6 months down the line, and then we're going to crank the eye candy and we're going to play it again and have like a whole new experience. That's part of PC gaming.
Yeah. And there's arguments there too for like replayability of the game and whatnot. But like it is kind of it's aggravating to be able to buy something for something specific. Like I can buy this game specifically for a PS4. I'm going to buy the hard copy because I'm weird, and it's going to say PS4 on the box because it's made for that console, and then it is basically unplayable. I would argue that ranging from 720p to 900p and 15 to 20 FPS is unplayable.
Yep.
I think some people might disagree with me, but I'm not very concerned about that minority.
It can cause nausea for people. Like very low frame rates, especially if you're playing on a TV, like on a large TV, can actually cause physical problems for people. This is about more than just PC MR elitism, 15 FPS. Like that affects your ability to play competitively for realsies. And okay, it's not a multiplayer game, but that doesn't mean that you don't want to compete with your own knowledge of your own skills. Like, you don't want to be underperforming compared to how you think you should be able to play a game. Like, I only played it briefly, and I went through a car chase scene where you're supposed to, like, actually, it might be the same one Digital Foundry's talking about. I didn't watch the video, but you're supposed to shoot opponents that are in, like, another car that's in front of you and, like, moving around and stuff. There is no way that I could have done it at 15 FPS.
It was hard enough with it chugging on the settings I was playing on with the 1080. There has been some comments in the chat, and I think we might have said some confusing things, very much myself included. This has an upgrade to PS5. What Linus was talking about was a general thing where all games should be platform agnostic.
Yes.
Wasn't necessarily talking about only this one in this one case. He's
right.
talking like everything should be platform agnostic.
Correct.
So yeah, just wanted to make sure we had that clarification fully out there.
Sorry for the confusion. Every game should. There you go. There should be no reason why you are ever stuck with a copy of a game for a console that doesn't run it properly and then not be able to experience it properly with the same license of the game that you've already purchased. Thanks for jumping in with that, guys. Yep, go ahead, Luke.
Yep. Basically, performance bad, performance real bad. Moving on, Cyberpunk is causing seizures. A sequence in the game features blinking red and white LEDs, similar to the ones used by doctors to induce seizures for diagnosis purposes. Initially, the game only included a seizure warning in the game's EULA, which no one reads. Now we're working on adding a separate warning in the game. I did notice when I launched my game,
there's a warning now.
That says there's a seizure warning, but still, like,
it's not the best look. And also, like, there's, even aside from the white and red flashing, like the way that even the website for the game, like, kind of glitches. Like, I thought my display was actually broken, or like I had a bad HDMI connection or something like that. I understand that's an aesthetic you guys are going after. If there's anything we've learned from having things like a dead pixel on one of our cameras, it's that it's not really conducive to the user's enjoyment to have them think that their equipment is defective. Okay, yes. When people are watching an LTT video and it makes them think they have a dead pixel on their monitor, they're not focused on enjoying the video in much the same way that, like, if you're half the time you think that your TV's broken, you're not gonna. And I'm not saying half that anyone's that stupid. I'm just saying, as an aesthetic or artistic choice, I don't know, maybe reconsider next time. That's all. I'm not saying it's the end of the world. So,
and last but not least, and this isn't a note in the doc, but it's the user score.
All right. Luke, talk about how you really feel. Luke.
There was already articles going out about, like, why a 90 was a failure. Cyberpunk got a 90 on Metacritic, and it was interpreted as very bad. And some people were like, how is it, like, if I got 90 on a test, I'd be super stoked. So how is this bad? Well, there's a lot to do with that. I'm not even going to go into that now. What is more in the realm of failure, and to be honest, as I've looked at this throughout the day, it has constantly increased. So maybe it's not really going to be as much of a thing. But the user score this morning was below 6. It is now currently 6.1. There are some things in the game that may have led to certain people just review bombing it.
Yes.
I don't think that's entirely the reason why it has this score. I've read through a decent amount of the reviews, and a lot of them felt kind of the same way about it that I did. It's very railed at the beginning. Night City is very pretty, but feels very dead. There's a lot of lacking of AI. Like to get away, someone was talking in one of the reviews that, like, if you need to get away from the police, the way you do it is by driving in a straight line, because they, like, pop out.
Yeah. I was able to get away from the police in my just visual impressions video. I was able to get away from the police by starting a story dialogue. So I just, like, ran over to someone that I was supposed to talk to continue the story, and the police behind me just, like, stopped being interested in me immediately. I was no longer a wanted criminal. I mean, that's like GTA 1 stuff.
Yeah, you can't continue with the mission until you drop your wanted level. Like that's some like super basic stuff. Like it feels, despite how much time, despite how many articles came out about the crunch that went on it, despite all this stuff,
Despite the fact they worked on it for 8 years,
it feels kind of unfinished. Also, I'm like, I don't know, I played for a while, not like a super long time, but I have only seen things so far that were either in trailers or like in short gameplay snippets that they have uploaded. I'm sure there's a lot more to the game, but it lacks a sense of impact. I have a hard time so far really caring about a lot of the characters, including my own character. It lacks a sense of impact when you do things in the game. Things feel very hollow. An example that I would give for that is like in God of War, when you the newer-ish God of War, when you throw the axe and catch it again, there was like articles about how amazing that feeling was because it had fantastic feedback.
yeah,
It had a fantastic impact, and like almost nothing in Cyberpunk feels like it properly has that amount of impact, which breaks immersion. It's this beautiful game, but it feels like a picture instead of a game.
now
I don't know. I'm not far enough in to make an actual review at all.
To disclaim it, this is not a review, and Luke still, are you planning to play it more? Or are you just like kind of not that into it?
Super motivated to play it right away, but I feel like it's too monumental of a thing for me to not go back to eventually. I just don't know exactly when I will.
Right. All right. That's fair. That's fair. We've got a leak.
I hope people like it. I hope it improves. I would like to like the game. It just, in its current state, I'm not there, but I would like to. So hopefully something happens.